Finally, a fusion that we can all be pumped about. Hey guys, finally he sleeps back again with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're looking at the Thor Faehammer fusion, which is the fusion for the month of September. Thor is a legendary attack magic champion that brings a ton of damage. His kit is pretty spectacular for a damage dealer, and I'm kind of putting him up there with, I would say I'm going to probably use him the way I use, let's say, Nut, because of the way his damage is stacked and what he brings. If you are a mid to upper tier player and are missing some of the massive damage dealers in the game, if you don't have like an end game account and you're looking for a few new nukers, Thor is going to fill out your squad really well. His A1 has turn meter control and a 2-time hit. It's just one enemy, but that turn meter control is definitely going to help. That immediately for me puts it into multiple different areas of the game that I would be using it in. You know, not a massive amount of damage, but because he is a damage dealer, those 2 hits are going to be great. But for me, that turn meter control on his A1, even though it's 10%, that's each hit's 10%. So that's a 20% turn meter control on his A1. I have a lot of uses for that. A2 is an AoE. Now, this is the one that is going to have a massive amount of damage coming out of this. It's an AoE, and after hitting the first enemy, this is like a wave that it rolls through. So it hits the first enemy, and then it hits every other enemy in a random order. So now, following the initial hit, each subsequent hit increases the damage inflicted by 25%, stacks up to 100%. So if you're hitting a wave of 5 champions and you hit champion 1, it's a full hit. Second hit, 125%, 150, 170, and 175, and then 200% damage, an increase of a complete 100%. So that is a massive smack and an AoE on his A2. Oh, did I mention that it ignores block damage and Unkillable, which will be great in things like Arena, but also in various different waves where you have somebody that's putting in that block damage or Unkillable. This is also a Paragon killer, so Mr. Cheese beware. A3 AoE before attacking places a 50% increased attack and increased crit damage on that. So it's a self-buffing A3. 75% chance of permanently decreasing the resistance of each enemy by 10%, stacks up to 50%. That I like. Resistance destruction, very cool. Okay, and also has a 75% chance, which fully booked becomes a 100% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So it's a self-buffing AoE, destroys resistance, and if it's fully booked, it's on a 3-turn cooldown. His passive, though, this is where he kind of comes into the play of somewhere like the, who was it? It's Blade Master? No. Rathalos? Yes. And this isn't a hit over time. So what it is every time this champion deals damage, increases the thunder counter by 1, and it stacks up to 10. Now, this doesn't mean on his 10th hit. This means the 10th enemy hit. So if you're hitting a wave of 5 with an AoE, the first one takes care of 5 turns, and the second AoE hit is your second 5. So there is 10. If you're going into something like spiders, where you have 10 spiderlings, it's going to stack right away. And what it does is it gives you an extra hit. It is an AoE stun. So it's going to smack with the AoE. Then you have a second AoE that stuns everything that comes in. That's once it stacks up to 10. On top of that, each thunder stack increases this champion's damage by 3% up to 30%. And then once it hits, it resets. It goes back to a turn count of 0. So this is similar to Rathalos, where every 5th hit is a massive hit. This is every 10 enemies struck with damage gets a massive hit. And then that damage increase is straight up damage. It's not crit damage, it's straight up damage, up to a 30% increase in damage. That means he is going to be a formidable nuker throughout the game in almost pretty much everywhere. He's not bringing anything like, there's no HP burn or anything, but he has stun, decreased speed, he's a self buffer, and a ton of damage. So that's what we're looking at for the fusion. This is a hybrid fusion. So the way this is going to work is we have fragments to be able to create Diana, which is the new Void Epic, as part of this. So we'll gather our 100 fragments to create 4 Dianas, and those 4 Dianas need to be maxed out to 50 so that you can fuse them to get Thor. So let's take a look at the calendar and see exactly how this is going to go, and then give some tips on which direction would be the best way for you guys to tackle it. So here's the calendar. We're taking a look at this. Let me zoom in here so I can actually see what it is we're looking at. The one thing to pay attention to right away out of the gate on this is once Champion Chase hits, the way this is set up with the fragments is once Champion Chase is here, you will be able to collect those your epics and use them towards Champion Chase. So don't claim your epics until you're getting a benefit for them out of the mix. So this thing opens today. We have Artifact Enhancement, Champion Training, and Spider Tournament right out of the gate. Dungeon Divers doesn't open until Friday, so right away, if you have coins to spend for Artifact Enhancement, do it. If you've got some champion training that you can use for brews, or you're ranking up champions that you've been kind of sitting on, do it. Don't dive into the campaign and don't dive into Spider until Dungeon Divers opens tomorrow. So the things to do right away are to spend coins and resources such as rank ups and doing your brew champion training, but don't waste energy until you can use it towards Dungeon Divers. The second thing is Champion Chase is going to unlock on Friday at the same time as Dungeon Divers, and if you're scrolling through campaign to do your champion training, you're going to pick up some possibly some rares and uncommons to kind of stack some low-level points in on Champion Chase as well. So this is all about efficiency and trying to get as much done as you can stacked on together. So Dungeon Divers, we're waiting on Spider and Champion Training campaign runs until Dungeon Divers and Champion Chase unlock. Classic Arena, easy. We just go after Classic Arena as soon as it's there. There is an overlap for Dragon and Dungeon Divers. That overlap right there is kind of a hit to be able to kind of take Dragon and divide it into 2 pieces. So the beginning of Dragon, you're going to finish out Dungeon Divers 1 if you need it. And then once Dungeon Divers 2 unlocks, then you can kind of stack the end of Dragon Tournament there on top of Dungeon Divers. Artifact Enhancement 2, you're going to use all of the coins that you've earned from Spider, Dungeon Divers, and Dragon to be able to complete Artifact Enhancement 2. So far, all the way through the first week, other than just saving your energy on day 1 until the Champion Chase and Dungeon Divers opens up, it's pretty straightforward. Once Dungeon Divers 2 is underway and Dragon has ended, hold until Fire Night begins next Thursday. Fire Night will stack on Dungeon Divers. Use the coins from that to go into Artifact Enhancement 3. So again, this is just all about the stack of what we're doing. Summon Rush is coming in there at the end, and that is a swap. So we have Champion Chase first and Summon Rush second. You need your shards for Summon Rush. Champion Chase can be completed by doing other things as well. And because we have Champion Chase right out of the gate that runs through Monday, if you can get enough fragments together, so you're going to end up getting 25 from Artifact Enhancement, 25 from Champion Training, 25 from Dungeon Divers. If you can get your 25 from Spider at the same time, that is 1 epic cleared. So you'll gain an epic in Champion Chase by fusing that first epic. Classic Arena and Dragon, if you can get those completed along with you, it's still only 175. So for Champion Chase, you're only going to be able to fuse 1 of your epics as part of Champion Chase. So if you've got stuff stored up to be able to claim, you're going to want to claim that all during Champion Chase to hold as many shards as you can for that Summon Rush that is opening up next Friday. That is a big factor. That is a big component. Normally we have Champion Chase towards the end on this, and we can use some of our stored up the fragment fusions as part of the event to earn Champion Chase points. That's going to make this a little bit more difficult. So it is pretty straightforward, but there's stuff we need to pay attention to. That Summon Rush there next Friday is going to require a decent amount of stuff. But if you're also looking at this, it doesn't look like there's any tournament wins. The bonus points from this are not going to come from tournaments. The bonus is going to come from that Summon Rush at the very end, which is good because it's going to give you a chance to earn 50 points if you're missing anything. But I would say that it's more likely that you should be able to complete all this free to play as long as you've got the resources stacked. All right, Champion Training on the following week isn't really going to help you with anything else other than if you're doing it at the same time as Dungeon Divers 3, you can kind of stack that in. Classic Arena is pretty straightforward. And then Ice Golem at the very end with Dungeon Divers. And then, like I said, that bonus Summon Rush for 50 points. What we've seen in the past with this is there may end up being, it won't be a 25 and a 25. So it won't be like you can just go after the first 25. It'll probably be something annoying like 20 and 30. So that 20 fragments isn't going to help you at all, but you claim them on the way to the 50. I can't guarantee that, but I would be willing to bet. I would be willing to bet just about anything. That is going to be a 50 point or no point because all of this stuff is going to, you're going to have to complete it to get the fragments that you need. You can always pull one of the voids, the void epics, and make this thing much easier. But for the most part, this is just about being efficient when you take a look at the calendar for this fusion. That's it. This is a fantastic fusion. This is the first one. I mean, every fusion that we have, I always go into it with the understanding that I am definitely going to claim the fusion because I want them for whatever reason. It's a hoarding of champions, collecting them, whatever. And I can usually spin it in a way that, okay, this is going to be useful in this area, this area, this area, this area. Whether or not they come out of the vault or they actually get built right away is a little bit different. There are fusion champions, though, that become a must-have in your team. If you look back on some of the champions that we've been given, either through fusion or from login champs, and you know, this one I feel is going to be right up there with like Helicath and Nut. Thor is going to be used by a lot of people, and if you start the game in like October of this year and you just missed Thor, the opportunity to claim him, it's going to piss some people off. So Thor Fusion, it is here. I'm FinallyHeSleeps. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Make sure you subscribe here on this channel and then check out my other channels as well. FC Mobile, Gearheads, which is my main channel on YouTube where we talk about all things cars, and then for a few laughs, check out Cringeworthy. Finally, he sleeps. As long as you guys keep showing up, I'll keep making videos.